Yasmat jatam jagat sarvam yasminyeva praniyate yenedam dharyate chaiva tasmai jnanatmane namaha. Ishvaro gururatmeti murti bheda vibhagine vyomavat vyapta dehaya dakshinamurtaye namaha. Taittiriya Upanishad maya charya prasadataha vispashtartaruchinam hi vyakyeyam sampraniyate. Om Shanno mitrasham varunaha Shanno bhavatvaryama Shanna indro brihaspatihi Shanno vishnururukramaha Namo brahmane Namaste vayo Tvameva pratyaksham brahmasi Tvameva pratyaksham brahma vadishyami Ritam vadishyami Satyam vadishyami Tanmamavatu Tadvaktaramavatu Avatu mam Avatu vaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Aham Vrishtasya Reriva Kirti Prushtangireriva Urdhva Pavitro Vajiniva Swamrdamasmi Dravinagum Suvarchasam Sumedha Amruto Kshitaha Iti Trishankor Vedanu Vachanam. Okay, so last time we concluded the 9th Anuvaka, and as you may recollect, the 9th Anuvaka emphasizes on Swadhyaya and Pravachana. That's why everything ended with Ritancha Swadhyaya Pravachanecha Satyancha Swadhyaya Pravachanecha. Everything ended with Swadhyaya and Pravachana. We saw it in some detail. If you look at it in another perspective, Swadhyaya and Pravachana tells another thing. It says practice and preach, because you need Swadhyaya and then Pravachana. You do Swadhyayana. Swadhyayana is to not just, at one level it is recitation, the another level is you contemplate. You contemplate on it and then Pravachana. So in a way it also tells that you should practice and preach. In a way we can also understand it that way. So now we will move on to Anuvaka 10. If time permits, we will go to Anuvaka 11 also. And Anuvaka 10 is a Japa mantra. Shankara Bhashya, he says it is a Japa. If you remember, the 4th Anuvaka was a Japa mantra. Japa and Homa, everything was there. Yas Chandasam Rishabo Vishwarupaha Chandobhyo Dyamrita Atsam Babhuva Samendro Medhaya Aspranotu Amritasya Deva Dharano Bhuyasam Shariram Me Vicharshanam Jihva Me Madhumattama Karna Abhyam Bhuri Vishruvam Brahmana Koshosi Medaya Pihitaha Shrutam Me Gopaya. This is the first 1/3 of Anuvaka 4, which was also a Japa mantra. If you may recall, I was mentioning it was a Japa mantra. Japa mantra by definition is one which has to be repeatedly uttered. That's why it is called Japa. We utter it repeatedly. So that was a Japa mantra, and Shankaracharya's Bhashya, others also say that Japa mantra was Jnana Yogyata Praptyartam. We should get the Adhikaratva for obtaining Jnana. So that Japa mantra was for that. That's why he talked about the karma and avahanti vitanvanaha, all those. This japa mantra that we are going to see today is jnana praptyartham. That is for jnana yogyata praptyartham. This is for jnana prapti, direct. And that is how this is a japa mantra. Actually, there is a tradition. Whenever they say Shanti mantra, these two they will say. Yes, Chandasam Rishabha also they will say. If you go and see some high Vedantic classes and all that, whenever they utter the Shanti mantra, they will utter Yes, Chandasam Rishabho Vishwarupa, that mantra, and Aham Vrikshasya Reriva, which we are going to see today. These two they will say. Because why? Both of them are japa mantras. The more you repeat, it will. There is an intended purpose and give us that is the idea of a japa. That's why they repeat this mantra also. If you go, some sannyasis, when they do discourse and give us Shanti mantra, they will tell these two. Because one is for jnana yogita, another is about jnana prapti itself. This is a very short piece, just 4 lines. And this ends with iti trishankor vedanu vachanam. That's how this Anuvaka ends. So this is an utterance of Trishanku. This is not the Trishanku of the Vishwamitra fame. This is a Rishi. Trishanku Rishi. So his utterance, Veda Anuvachanam, having understood and realized something, he cries in ecstasy. So that's how, or he utters in ecstasy. That is how this mantra is. It's a short, 4 lines and so on. Now, if you really ask what is the sum and substances of what is here, I am reminded of a pair of 4 words. The 4 words goes like this: Deham Naham, Koham Soham. So there are 4 words here. Deham Naham, I am not the body. So the first 2 says Deham Naham. Then the question is Koham, Kaha Aham. And the last answer is Saha Aham. I am that Brahman. Saha Aham is Soham in Sandhi. So there is this Deham Naham, Koham Soham. That is being told in this. In a sense, it is not talking about Deham or Naham or Koham. It talks about Soham. Saha Aham. I am that. That is the utterance of the Rishi. So there are 4 short mantras which we will see in this Anuvaka. Mike, thank you. So we look at this mantra: Aham Vrikshasya Reriva Kirti Prishtangireriva. Please note, the first one ends with a dirgha, second one ends with hrasva. Aham Vrikshasya Reriva Kirti Prishtangireriva. Some people wrongly, sometimes I see that they wrongly utter. The first one is dirgha, second one is hrasva. Kirti Prishtangireriva Urdhva Pavitro Vajiniva Swamritamasmi Dravinagum Savarchasam Sumedha Amruto Kshitaha. So iti, because it says iti, the whole thing is in quotes now. Thus spoke Trishanku. So that is how it ends. Iti Trishankor Vedanu Vachanam. So what did this Trishanku say? The first thing he said is Aham Vrikshasya Reriva. Reriva means, he just pulled that from the Shankara Bhashya. Reriva is Prerayita, one who enables, one who nourishes, one who creates. These are all the meaning. Prerana, one who makes it happen. So this Rishi is saying, I am the creator, enabler and nourisher of the tree. Vriksha. Vrikshasya, I am Vrikshasya Reriva. I am the enabler and nourisher and creator, whatever we want to use, of tree. Because what is this tree that we are talking about? We should remember chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita. This notion of, moment you say tree, we should all, if tree is used in any Vedantic, discussion, we should always remember the first shloka of chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita. right? It is there in Katha Upanishad. I want to bring all of them today because it's also an opportunity for us to revise Bhagavad Gita also, which we have gone through. So I will take that first shloka. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Urdhva Moola Adashakaha Ashwattam Prahuhu Avyayam Chandamsi Yasya Parnani Yastam Veda Saveda Vit. This is how the Purushottama Yoga starts. So what is Krishna saying here? The Moola is Urdhva. The root is on the top. Urdhva Moolam, the branches are spreading down. It's an inverted tree. Like our computer tree structure. Our directory tree structure is exactly like this. The root is at the top. Then you can create directories. It is exactly like that. So here he says Urdhva Moolam Atashaka. The branches are all spreading down. Right? And Prahuhu Avyayam. This is something which is, that which cannot be, you cannot, make it, split it into pieces. I mean, it's a very endless kind of a thing. Right? Ashwattham. See, uses the word Ashwatha also. It's a pipal tree and, bodhi tree, whatever you want to say. Now, and then he says, Chandamsi Yasya Parnani. The entire Vedic knowledge or its leaves. That's how he says here. And when he knows it, he knows me. So all these Bhagavad Gita, many of these shlokas are riddles only. One needs to expand it and explain it a little bit more. The point that is being made here, this is actually the samsara vriksha. You try your family tree. The more and more you put your ancestors, you will go Urdhva Mula. Literally you will go Urdhva Mula. So the Urdhva Mula actually says the beginning of this creation, the Sakala Jiva Rashi, Jiva Jagat, everything starts from the Ishvara. So this Ishvara and this Ishvara's manifestation into this beautiful creation is portrayed as a tree now. That is a macrocosm understanding. The microcosm understanding is this samsara vriksha is endless. All these, so far what I have said is macrocosm, where it is this divinity which is spreading its wings into all these different worlds and so on. That is a macrocosm view. If you take an individual is nothing but a samsara vriksha. Karma, sanchita karma, agami karmas, and then prarabdha karmas. This is an endless kind of a circle in which it is going. So in a microcosm also we are a vriksha. In fact, in Vedantic discussions in Rigveda and all that, Brahma Vanam, Brahma Vaksham, all those are, the tree is the Brahma tree, the forest is the Brahma forest, like that. They essentially what they are saying is, tree essentially reminds us of the samsara vriksha. So the Rishi is saying, he is saying, I am that creator. I am the one who is the creator of this whole universe, is what he said by saying, Aham vrikshasya reriva, because I am nourishing the tree is what he is saying. What can nourish the tree? It is only the ultimate Brahman which can nourish any tree. All individual beings are all finding its existence and origin there. So that is what here he says. Another meaning of vriksha, see, the vriksha comes from the dhatu which has ksha. Ksha is to cut. So this life can be cut. Then it may grow again. You can chop and then it may make another bud and so on. That's another reason why they use the word vriksha. Vriksha is that which can be cut. That's another meaning for the word vriksha. That's why I think people keep cutting trees, I think. Maybe they found out the Sanskrit meaning of the word vriksha. So the same idea is in Katha Upanishad. Urdhva Moolaha Avashakaha. Ada atava ava, both are paryaya pada. So Urdhva Moolaha Avashaka Yeshaha Ashwattaha Sanatanaha. It said Avyayam, here it says Sanatana, forever. This tree lives forever. That's why it's called Brahma Vriksham. It lives forever. That's what in Katha Upanishad says. It talks about the Brahma Vriksham. It talks about that original tree. We are all, sub-versions of that tree. So here it talks about that original tree, which is nothing but that divinity itself is manifesting in this world. So Urdhva Moolaha Avashakaha Yeshaha Ashwattaha Sanatanaha Tatu Eva. That indeed is Shukram. It's all bright and luminous and so on. Shukram Tad Brahma Tateva Amritam Uchyate. That is the one which is immortal. That primordial tree is the tree from which all these are coming. Because just think about it. Did coconut come from coconut tree or coconut tree come from coconut is a big question. That's what is being told here. Where did you get the first tea plant? I do not know. Where did you get the first coffee plant? It's Urdu Mula actually. So this is talking about that Urdu Mula. Tasmin, in that tree, Tasmin Lokaha Shritaha, this whole creation is coming out of that Brahma Vriksham. That tree. From that tree, this whole manifestation is coming out. Tasmin Lokaha Shritaha, Sarve Lokaha Shritaha, Tatu Natyati Atyati. Nothing can cross it. That is the limit. That is the ultimate tree. No tree can grow taller than that. In other words, that engulfs everything. That envelops everything. Kasyana, by nobody one can cross that. So these are all figurative expression of that idea. Right? Etadvaitat. This is what in Bhagavad Gita, in the third shloka, it's a very nice shloka. Na rupam asya iha. He says it's very difficult to find the shape of this tree. Very difficult to find. The tree is so sprawling, you really do not know. In fact, when I was teaching this, I mentioned this. I went to Sri Lanka once in a few years back. Since LTT everything was over, I could go to Anuradhapura and near Jaffna. So Anuradhapura earlier was difficult to go. Now you can go comfortably. I went and saw that Ashwatha tree there, which Buddha, when the king of Ashoka sent his daughter in, they are claiming from that they are maintaining. You cannot find out which is the main trunk, which is the other trunk. They have put silver thing. I mean, it's a very holy place for them. The tree will be probably an acre in its spread. It's so huge. So that's what it is saying. Na rupam asya iha. You can't see, because we have engaged in this samsara so much, we don't know where is the beginning, where is the end. We are like that. So that's what he says. Na rupam asya iha tata upalabhyate. You can't find. You look for this shape of the tree and all, you will be lost. Because we have engaged, we have gone deep into our samsara. Right? Na antaha. We don't know where is the end, where is the beginning. I felt exactly this when I went to Anuradhapura and saw that tree. Dodda Alambra illi undi ide. You go about 20 kilometers from this on the Mysore road, you will feel like that. I mean, still you can manage it because it is still smaller. But that is the idea. You can't find its shape. You can't find where is the beginning, where is the end. Right? Sampratishtaha, well established. In samsara, we have gotten ourselves into every possible things and we are all well settled in samsara. That's why shaking out of it is not easy. It's all easy to talk, but it make the slightest shake and is difficult because we are all sampratishtaha, well established, pakka. Right? Ashwatam, enam. So Krishna says in third shloka, this Ashwatha tree, which is we are so established, Suviruda Moolam. You have to uproot it from its origin. Because otherwise this is endlessly growing. Now he says, how can you uproot it? He gives you a tool. That tool, he says, Asanga Shastrena, Dridena Chitva. He says, use the sword of Vairagya. Non-attachment, Asanga. He says, that is the only sword you have. All others are manure for this tree. Asanga Shastrena, Dridena Chitva. Firmly you tear it apart. And the only Asi is actually a sword. So, Shastra, here it says Shastra, weapon. So he says, Asanga Shastrena Dridena Chitva. Chit is to cut. Right? That's what it is. In Mahabharata there is one Ashwatha Parva. Beautiful expression of this is there.
One more tree is there near Anantapur. Here Katri, it is 400 years
old. Quite possible. So if you go and see that 400-year old tree, I think this shloka will be 100% true. Na rupamasya iha tata upalabhyate na antaha sampratishtaha. It will be all well, so that is what it is. Now in Mahabharata, in Ashwaparva, this discussion is exactly there. So I thought we recollected all of them in chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita. Since we are coming to this point, I thought we will. So what is it saying? Saying avyakta moola prabhavaha. This is a very nice figurative expression of the samsara vriksha. Our samsara can be very nicely portrayed with a vriksha. That is what all these Upanishads say. In Mahabharata, being a kavya, being a Purana, it's much more, it has more space, 40,000 shlokas. Unlike 700 shlokas in Bhagavad Gita, you have to be very, very concise. Although Krishna would have wanted to say more. Whereas Mahabharata is 40,000 shlokas, so they have spent more. I pulled only some of them. But look at this expression here. It says, avyakta moola prabhavaha tasya eva anugraho shritaha. This whole thing, tree has, because of his anugraha, it sprung from Brahman. It started from there. That's how the slokas start. Right? Now it describes the tree. Tree has a trunk, tree has flowers, tree has fruits, tree has leaves. So he is using some ways to explain all this samsara vriksha with such a nice description. It says, buddhihi skandam, skandamayaschaiva. So, skanda is that, I think there is the main halo, I think, main trunk, I think. What he says? He says, oh, the skanda is the branches, he says. Largely, the large branches. The technical word is skanda. So he says, buddhi is the skanda. It really, establishes. See, with buddhi only we are so firmly established. Please understand, you need indriyas and buddhi only for vyavahara. For spirituality, you don't need any of them. Please understand this concept. Pancha karmendriyas, pancha jnanendriyas, buddhi, chitta, ahankara are all required only for vyavahara. That is why in deep sleep, even when you don't have any of these, when you are in sushupti, when you don't have any of these, you have anubhava, no awareness. Because for awareness you need all these. For awareness you need the buddhi, chitta, ahankara, indriyas, all those are required. So for world of vyavahara you need. That's why the tree, it gets bigger and bigger only because it is using buddhi, chitta, ahankara and all that. That's why he is using it for the branch. Indriyantarakotaraha. The sense organs are the hollows of the tree. Mahabhuta vishakascha vishayaihi. Patravamstata. So, the tree gets so big. This is a beautiful tree. You just see this tree. It's a very huge tree actually. If you look at this tree, the span and the breadth of the tree in a way is the index of the numerous number of leaves. Like that, the samsara vriksha can be counted by in how many vishayas we are engaged in. That's why the vishayas are related to the leaves. So, that's what it says. Dharma dharma supushpascha. The fruit, it's such a beautiful description. See, you get fruits out of flowers. Without flower, there is no fruit. Right? So, the flowers are dharma and adharma, therefore the fruits are also sukha and dukkha. So some fruits are sour, some fruits are sweet, some fruits are useless, some fruits can, you can get sick eating the fruits. So all those are coming through flower and fruit. The dharma and adharma is manifesting as sukha and dukkha. Please remember that. Is step 1 and that is step 2. As much as flower is step 1 and fruit is step 2. So that is why that choice is made here. So that's what he says. Sukha dukkha palodayaha. The fruits are nothing but sukha and dukkha. Why? Because the flowers are dharma and adharma. Right? Ajivyaha sarvabhutanam brahma vrikshaha sanatanaha. So as long as these people live, this tree will remain. Because they are all coming from there. Then it says, Etad brahmavanam chaiva brahmana vrikshasya tasyayat. So this, in this brahmavanam, each one of us is a brahma vriksha. Because the seed is from there. Then he says, they are much more emphatic. Krishna said chitwa. He used chitwa and bitwa. Because if you cut it, sometimes it will sprout. You have to open it into the trunk into two parts. Then only it will not. It's called bitwa. So he uses both here. He says, etat chitwa cha bitwa cha. Because if you cut sometimes and throw a trunk will start growing again. Actually, you have to tear apart into two pieces. That is called bitwa. Chinna binna. That's why they use the word chinna and binna. Chinna is cutting, binna is axially cutting. That's why in Sanskrit you have chinna and binna. So chitva and bitva. That's how it is coming. So here he says, etat chitva cha bitva cha. How? Jnanena paramasina. In chapter 4, Krishna he said jnana as the asi. Same thing he said in Asanga Shastra will come how? Only through jnana. That's why in chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has said, Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate. Nothing can be purer than this pure form of knowledge, because that will enable you to do all this. So that's how he is saying. So, tatashvamaratim prapya tasman na vartate punaha. Otherwise you will come and go again and again. If you have to stop this endless chakra of coming and going, you use the knowledge, the axe of knowledge, and cut, not just cut trunk, cut axially also and throw it. Is what, all these we should remember when we go to this. Can you go 4 slides before? First one. So he says, Aham vrikshasya reriva. So this realized soul says, I am that Brahman from which the Brahmavana and the Brahma Vriksha are coming. That is what he is saying. He is saying, I am that Brahman through which this Brahmavana and the Brahma Vriksha are. I am the Prerayita. I am the one who is creating this Brahmavana. That is the first utterance he makes. Aham Vrikshasya reriva. Then he says, Kirtihi Prishtam Girehe Iva. He says, the Kirti that I have, the fame that I have acquired, is like what? He says, it is like Girehe Prishtamiva. It is like the peak or the summit of a mountain. Cliff or peak or summit of a mountain. He says, why? In fact, the way I understood this, Kirti Prishtam Gireriva, different people have different interpretations. But what I at least understood, see, if you look at a mountain top, if you should really go to mountain top, then you will appreciate this. We have gone, so we will be able to relate it. Whether it is a small mountain or big mountain, it's even more pronounced when you go to really scale a peak which is very large. What happens when you go near the mountain, to the tip of the mountain? First of all, we will feel small. Not only just mountain, go to some great place, go near a huge lake, you will feel small. Nature, when it expresses itself the best, we will actually feel small. Even the person with the greatest ego, for a split moment, he will feel small. That is why in our South Indian architecture, particularly in Tamil Nadu, the temple, before you go into the temple, the tower will be 150 feet. You pass through the gate, finished, your ego is over. You will really feel it. Please walk through that. Look at the ceiling which is 40-50 feet above. You will feel small. So that is the power of the. So when you say Kirtihi Girehe Prishtamiva, it is self-evident. Kirti should not be stage managed with branding and advertisement. That is not Kirti. By using the word the cliff of the mountain, what he is saying is, this Kirti that I have acquired is self-evident. It doesn't require any kind of advertisement for people. The greatness of the mountain need not be described. For poetic pleasure we can describe, otherwise it is not required. Only for poetic pleasure we need to describe, otherwise everybody knows. That is being conveyed here. It is self-evident. It is beyond everything. It is communicating that it is beyond everything. Nothing can speak beyond that. It is very naturally inspiring. Okay? Imposing, majestic. So he says, I have reached that. This man is crying in ecstasy. I have reached that kind of a situation is the second statement. Kirtihi Prishtam Girehe Iva. Then he says, Urdhva Pavitraha. There are two parts. Urdhva Pavitraha. All these aham you have to add. Aham is implied now. He is saying, who am I? That's what he is saying. So aham urdhva pavitraha. Urdhva is, just now we saw, urdhva is higher. Top. So he says, I am pure. But I am pure of a high order. So what does that mean? That means, there are two things we can understand from here. One is, there are a variety of purity which are all temporary in nature. You can take bath to pure for a few hours, then you take bath again. You sit for a meditation, for some time you feel better, after that it comes back. He is saying mine is permanent. So the Urdhva is higher than everything, which shows a sense of permanency in what I have achieved. My purity is a point of no return. A state of permanence is being implied here. It's above everything. It's not temporary, it is very permanent. So that is the second kind of call he makes. Then he says, Vajini iva somritamasmi. He says, so the asmi has come, so aham is implied. That's why aham is implied. Aham is not said again and again. Aham asmi. So he is saying, I am so and so, I am so and so and so on. So he says, Amritamasmi. First of all, he says, I am immortal. Now he wants to qualify that immortality itself. He says, what kind of immortality I am? He says, Vajini iva. See, Vajini means, actually Vajini is sun. Now the question is, where did this name come? Right? Now Vajam, Vajaha means food. You know, in Chamaka, there is a Rudra and Chamaka. Rudra is 300 nice praise of Rudra. It's called Trishati. 300 Namaha is there. If you tell one Rudra, in fact Rudra is the forerunner for all Ashtotra and Sahasranama, because this is Vedic. All others came through Puranas. This is really the forerunner. How do you actually use Ashtotra? You have to learn from Rudra. There are 300 Namaha there. So after the God is pleased, our ancestors, I have told this many times in the past, our ancestors are very intelligent. They wanted lot of money, lot of wealth. Who said they didn't want? They want plenty, more than what we asked. In one of the earlier Anuvaka also I mentioned it. The same Anuvaka, Es Chanda Sam Rishabho Vishwarupa, in that only I explained all this. So what they do, immediately after Rudra, it is called Namaka, because it is called Namaha, it's called Namaka also. Immediately they say Chamaka. Chamaka has 12 paragraphs. You cannot write a wish list anything which is better than that. It's ultimate. It has everything. It starts with Vajaschame, Prasavaschame, Praidhischame, Prasidhischame, Didhischame. The first word is Vajaschame. It says, give me food first. Vaja is food. Vaja means food. Let's say Chamaka first starts, give me food. Food, clothing, shelter, like that it goes actually.
Lion roaring also, from nearby it is very different.
Which one?
Lion roaring. I went for Indian Air Force Accounts Office interview in 1973. Our interview is by the side of Mysore Zoo. Evening 6 o'clock, just in becoming dark, I went, lion roaring. I am short of running. It is so dreadful. It need not come nearby, it need not do anything. Just roaring I am so much. And another occasion, there was a cyclone, 1985 from Calcutta to Chennai, for training college near seashore. Sea is so ferocious, I want to go and see. It is 1 kilometer from me, I am running back.
So any natural phenomenon is humbling experience. Seashore is another great example. You will be humbled. No, you go near Rajamundri, you cross the Rajamundri bridge here. Cross Godavari in Rajamundri bridge, you will be humbled. You will be really humbled.
Krishna is barrier, sir. I cannot stand even a minute.
Yeah.
The sound is so much, you wanted to stop water.
Yeah. So
water coming out of logs. We cannot stand even, I don't know how that feels. I cannot stand. The sound is so big.
yeah, true.
Hearing itself is, and suppose somebody falls in it, you just...
No, even great natural, jog falls or, fall, all are like that actually. So anyway, coming back to, I have slightly moved from that point, so let us just move a little bit. So coming back, so Vaja means food, okay. Now, the nourisher of food is sun. It's not just paddy or anything, the nourisher of food is sun. If sun as a force does not exist, nothing is possible. In fact, I think in one National Geography 1931 or 28, one issue, it said we breathe sun, we eat sun, we wear sun. They were making the point, without sun nothing is possible. We see each other because of the electricity which is coming from sun. The food we eat is sun. So Vajini means sun. So he says Vajini iva. Sunlight is as permanent as what you can ask for, as eternal as we can ever imagine. So he says, my immortality is like sun existing which is more or less a permanent kind of understanding for us. So he uses that kind of a reference and he says, Vajini eva samritam asmi. So he says, I am immortal ever, like the sun. So that we can relate to this idea much easily by using the word sun. Maybe he does that. Then he says, Dravinagum Savarchasam. So where do you get all these great things that you are talking about? See, Dravinam is actually wealth. Dravinam is wealth. So where did I get this wealth? Or what is behind all these? He says Savarchasam. It is that brilliance and radiance of that Atma Jnana which I found finally. That's why Nahi Jnanena Sadrisham Pavitram Vidyate is something which we have to experience. It is not a piece of information which we can read and understand. It is something which we have to experience in small ways, big ways, whichever way. Even in simple thing, moment we found something, see how bright we go for a moment. Knowledge is always enlightening. Knowledge and light are always related. That's why he uses the word brilliance and radiance. Essentially what it means is, I have got that knowledge. I have got that ultimate Atma Jnana. That has given me all these wealth that I have. Dravinam, it comes from that Swarchasam. Su is, Shobanam. It's an Upasarga, which means good. So it is this great, good radiance of knowledge which I have, which has endowed me this kind of a wealth. Is what is the next thing he says. Then he says, Sumedaha Amrutokshitaha. So he says, Medha, my Medha is Sumedha. Medha is or the Shakti of Nitya, Anitya, Vastu, Vichara and Viveka, all those come from Medha Shakti. He says, my Medha is Sumedha, Shobana Medha. It is such a purified form of intellect which I have. And he says, what has it made? It has made me Amrutokshitaha. Amrutena Akshita. There are two ways. One interpretation is Amrutena Akshitaha. Akshitaha is soaked. He says, this great intellect and all this brilliance has soaked me in Amrita. It's like Rasgulla in a sugar juice. It's soaked. So you can imagine what is this soaking all about. You are there. The medium is that. Everything is that. So he says, Sumedha Amrutokshitaha. So essentially this is an ecstasy crying of iti trishankoho Veda Anuvachanam. Having understood, having experienced, he Anuvachanam, the Vachanam follows. The statement follows. Now people say this is a Jnana Prapti Japartha because the repeatedly we understand the meaning and then we utter it, we will go near that because that urge will come. We will get very excited by a possibility of this only when you repeatedly contemplate on this idea. That's why they say this is a Jnana Prapti Japa. So that is what they say. So this is always uttered. Some great sannyasis, great Vedanta Pandits, when they start anything, they will utter this. Aham Vrikshas Sereri, or they will say this. Because they want to remind of this. Because this shows Soham. It has described Sahaham. I am that. And what is I am that? That is what he has described in this short passage. So people always remind this when they actually do anything. Shanti mantras, along with that, they will also say this. And yes, Chandasam Rishabha also they will say. Both of them always, you can next time if you see them, you will find they will say these two. That is the reason. Because this has to be repeatedly uttered so that it gets into our mind space. Slowly it gets into our mind space, so we want to go to a striking distance of this. That is the spirit of this mantra. Then comes the 11th Anuvaka. So with this is a short Anuvaka, which is the 10th Anuvaka. Then comes the 11th Anuvaka, which is very, very long. So I will first, I will go through this. Which is a...
Why it's called
Kathopanishad? Because some of the Upanishads, the starting itself is the meaning. Kathopanishad, I don't know. I'll have to check. I think it is in the Kata Shaka. It may be because of that. It is part of the Kata Shaka. Like Taittiriya Shaka, Taittiriya Upanishad. Taittiriya Upanishad is part of Taittiriya Shaka. I think that's the reason. Kathopanishad is part of Kata Shaka, the branch. I told Taittiriya is, I first two classes in great detail I actually spoke, but anyway, in a short thing I will. See, Taittiriya Upanishad has got its name from, there is a story behind it. I deciphered the story a little logically also, but I tell you the story. Story is the Titri birds, right? Yajurveda was a great rishi. his guru was his maternal uncle himself. So there is a story in his life that, and he was a great exponent of Yajurveda. And there was a story in which his uncle felt that Yajnavalkya was a little arrogant. This is a story part. So he asked him to give out all, you vomit all that I have taught you. So this word vomit and all, we can't literally take it, but stories are all written like that. I deciphered it a little bit. See, he vomited all of them, they were all black. Look at the story. They are Krishna, black. And he made all his other Sikshas into Taittiriya birds. Taittiriya bird is the sparrow, no? Which is, so they actually took all these, that's why it's called Krishna Yajurveda. So that Shaka which is called Krishna Yajurveda is Taittiriya Shaka, which came out of Taittiriya birds and all them. This is the story part of it. But then I explained why you can keep the story, understand the meaning of it. So it's called Taittiriya Upanishad because it is related to Taittiriya birds. And it's a Krishna Yajurveda. And the story goes, Yajnavalkya went ahead, he created the Shukla Yajurveda. That kind of a story is that. So it's called Taittiriya because of that. So that Shaka itself is part of Krishna Yajurveda. In that this Upanishad is there, that's why it's called Taittiriya Upanishad. This is the last, in some sense, this is the last Anuvaka of Sikshavalli. This is the last Anuvaka. This is the largest Anuvaka, very long. One shot I will utter it because we will not get an occasion to utter it in one shot. And there are many things, so I will first utter it. Vedamanuchya charyavante vasina manushasti satyam vada dharmam chara swadhyaya anma pramadaha acharyaya priyam dhanamahritya prajatantum ma vyavachet sihi satyanna pramaditavyam dharmanna pramaditavyam kushalanna pramaditavyam bhutyaina pramaditavyam swadhyaya pravachanabhyam na pramaditavyam deva pitrikaryabhyam na pramaditavyam matrudevo bhava pitrudevo bhava acharya devo bhava atiti devo bhava yanyanavadyani karmani tani sevitavyani no itarani yanyasmakagum sucharitani tani tvayopasyani no itarani yeke chasmachreya gumso brahmana tesham त्वयासनेन प्रश्वसितव्यं श्रद्धया देयं अश्रद्धया देयं ह्रिया देयं श्रिया देयं ह्रिया देयं भिया देयं संविदा देयं अत यदि ते कर्म विचिकित्सा वा वृत्त विचिकित्सा वा स्यात् ये तत्र ब्राह्मणा सम्मर्षिणः युक्ता आयुक्ताः अलूक्षा धर्मकामा स्युः यथा ते तेषु वर्तेरन् तथा तेषु वर्तेताः अदाभ्या आख्यातेषु ये तत्र ब्राह्मणा सम्मर्षिणः युक्ता आयुक्ताः अलूक्षा धर्मकामा स्युः यथा ते तेषु वर्तेरन् तथा तेषु वर्तेताः येष आदेशः येष उपदेशः येषा वेदोपनिषत् एतदनुशासनम् एवमुपासितव्यम् एवमुचैतदुपास्यम्. It's fairly a long piece, and this is practically the last. Then of course a Shanti mantra. The 12th Anuvaka is a Shanti mantra. Actually this piece, which is long, consists of 7 waves of thought. Actually, this is what Chinmayananda says, and I like that. I will show that 7 waves of thought shortly. It is actually a final set of ideas. Remember, here is a rishi who is talking to a set of people who are going out of the Gurukula. I have been saying this is a convocation address sort of a thing. That's what many people claim. Although Shankaracharya in his Bhashya did not say it like that, but it seems to be like that. So here is a group of students who are passing out, and this guru is telling something. This is the last word he has. Remember that. That is what it is. Okay? And actually, if you look at this whole thing, it provides a very rich canopy of what are the broad values practiced in the society. Okay? And what kind of values one must possess, how one must actually plan the life trajectory. It actually shows what was the Vedic life trajectory for every individual. Those ideas are part of it, and all those come out of this beautiful Anuvaka. Actually, it's a very nice Anuvaka. So now I will show you the 7 waves of thought which Chinmayananda actually talks about. So there are, in this Anuvaka, there are 7 things which the Rishi is finally telling, the Guru is telling the students as per the Shruti that you see here. One is set of advices ruling one's own mode of living with reference to the society and oneself. There are some ideas on that. Second wave of thought is regulating one's relationship with the previous generation and the present elders. How do you do this? Such kind of ideas is the second wave of thought. Relationship with oneself and one's teachers. That's the third. One's attitude towards the learned and the wise in the society. How do you actually handle these people? That kind of ideas are there. That's what he says. Ye tatra brahmana sammarshinaha yukta yukta. All those are part of that actually. Then charity and the laws of giving. Shraddhaya deyam, ashraddhaya adeyam. In fact, when I said, you have to also remember this, in Taittiriya Upanishad, the first Anuvaka said, Siksham kya syamah varnaswarah matravalam. See, when you utter, there are rules of length. When there are rules of length, in the sandhi something will go. So when I utter, I will say Ashraddhaya Deyam. It is not Ashraddhaya Deyam, it is Ashraddhaya Adeyam. You will find avagraha symbol, yes. The A is concealed there. If you look at that, okay, you will find Ashraddhaya, then yes, and then Deyam. It's called avagraha. In Sanskrit it's called avagraha. When A is in sandhi, it is concealed, you show it. So although I may say Ashraddhaya Deyam, I know I am saying Ashraddhaya Deyam. It's very important to know the meaning. Anyway, so those are... Huh?
How do you pronounce that?
Which one?
The second line beginning.
Okay. There are, that means it is a vriddhi sandhi. A. Instead of A, it is A. Vriddhi. Toya asanena. See, double avagraha means the sandhi is between dirgha and a dirgha. Toya is a dirgha. Asana is also a dirgha. So there are 4 As now, actually speaking.
Toya asana.
Asana. Give them seat. That's what he's saying. We'll see it. Toya, by you, give them respect and some position and all that. So now Toya is a dirgha. There's a A there. Asana also has a A there. So how do you indicate there are 2 A's concealed here? So double S is used. These are conventions actually. Anyway. So coming back, charity and laws of giving is another wave. Shraddhaya Devam, Ashraddhaya Deyam and all those. Then there are remedy for doubts. Actually ends with remedy for doubts. Yata teshu vartetaha tata teshu varteran. When you are in doubt, look at that. Such ideas are there. So remedy for doubts regarding one's own duty and conduct in life, and doubts regarding one's relationship with others who are falsely accused in the world. So these are the set of ideas which are part of this Anuvaka. Now I will not get into the Anuvaka straight.
Doubts regarding one's own.
Yeah, we'll see it. When we see it in detail, all of them will come. Now before getting into the Anuvaka, I want to paint the Vedic framework of living, because we have moved far away from that. Unless we get that framework, some of these mantras will not gel. Because actually these mantras in a way looks like an academic interest, because we are not practicing most of that. So let me take a little time. I will continue of course in the next class also, because I want to put this structure in place. We need to understand this. Then the greatness of this Anuvaka will be evident. So let's see the Vedic trajectory of life for each individual. What is being told. Right? Now, let me see, I put it in a particular Order. Okay. So, a child is born. Okay. And the idea is up to the age of 7, there is nothing to this child. Up to the age of 7, the child is not connected to anything. This is like saying, I was always making this point. When you go to a place with your bag, you slowly take things out of the bag. You don't take everything and put it out. It takes a while for you to really remove this t-shirt, remove that toiletries. First 1 hour you may remove the toiletries, then you will remove your pant and shirt. If you are there for 5-6 days, remove the towel from another t-shirt from the bottom and so. So the child for first 6-7 years is still not engaged into the world. That's the meaning. It is not getting into the samsara yet in a fully. So they do the Upanayana, for example, which is a mode of study, starting the study. So that is done in either Garbhashta or Janmashta. I mean, for each Varna there are times. For Brahmins it has to be done between Garbhashta and Janmashta. If you are a Kshatriya, it is within 11 years. If it is a Vaishya, it is 12 years. Like that, there are different numbers, but everybody have to go through this kind of a thing. So then gets into this ashrama. So until a child gets into the first ashrama, life is not started. The clock has not clicked, actually speaking, so to speak. So the first ashrama is what is called Brahmacharya. The modern day parlance is the student age. The student situation. Right? Now, the design at that time was the student age is 12 years. So now 8 plus 12, 20 is the kind of reference you should keep roughly. Sort of. Okay? So about 12 years is a full-blown study, and one can become a Yajurveda, everything is possible and all that. So what happens in that 12 years? A few things happen. One is Veda. Then all ashramas, all varnas will go through it. Actually they are supposed to go through it. First part of it, which is Veda Adhyayana, which is the Purva Bhaga. Everybody will have to go through it. Then depending upon the varna, there are specific subjects which are to be. For a Kshatriya you need a lot of warfare, you need a lot of those kinds of things. For a Vaishya there is a lot of Artha Shastra. So there are some basic. Then for a Brahmana he has to be only in the field of always Pravachana and Swadhyaya. You have to get into the deep study of only Veda and all that. So anyway, so learning specific skills of trade, that's also part of the story. And this entire first phase, student phase, the emphasis is in learning theory. To put it simply, it is in learning theory, which means you have to recite, you have to memorize and understand, you don't have to know the meaning. Knowing meaning is not emphasized. In other words, meaning part will come. It is first you have to know what it is. So it is all, knowing theory, very little and probably no scope for practice. There is no scope for practice, it is all learning only. That is the phase. Now this whole system works like this. The students are enrolled with no fee. So I am using modern words to connect to the idea. There is absolutely no fee. So the students are part and parcel of the Gurukula, and he is like a family member. That's how the Guru Patni treats this one batch of incoming students. They feed them, they give them everything, knowledge, food, clothing, shelter, knowledge, everything they give. When they leave, there is no particular fee which is asked for. There is a Guru Dakshina given. And the Guru Dakshina is generally also given not just like that. This boy who completes his education, shows his skill, gets the money and gives it to the Guru. That was the kind of framework. So it's all like that. He leaves and then he pays his respect Guru Dakshina immediately later at an appropriate occasion and so on. So it is all theory or know-how, values, and what is also taught is values, attitudes and skills. These are the first stage of the trajectory of life. The second stage of trajectory of life is that immediately after this fellow passes, actually if you look at the Vivaha mantras, you will exactly find this. Moment this fellow passes out, the first thing he says is you get married. So he moves, so ashrama is only a passing stage actually. So he goes to Grihastha ashram. Okay? Now this is the greatest of all the ashrams. This is the most important ashrama. This Grihastha ashrama. I talked about it a little bit in the last class. But what happens? Get married first. It's extremely important. Why? Because this is the ashrama in which you are now getting into the practice of the theory. The theory is practiced only in Grihastha ashrama, which means your practice of values, your practice of attitudes, your practice of the knowledge that you know, the skills of trade you have, everything has to be done only in Grihastha ashrama. So Grihastha ashrama is a substantive part of your action. You are the thick of action. That is called Grihastha ashrama. And you exhibit your skills. You engage in Grihastha ashrama. Your central theme is you have to supposed to engage in dharma. It is only Grihastha ashrama which can support dharma. No other ashrama has any scope for supporting dharma. A sannyasi cannot support dharma. A brahmachari cannot support dharma. Dharma means the world of action here. Dharma means what? Dharma is the world of vyavahara. Dharma is required. I keep repeatedly saying this. If you are not going to drive a car in your life, you don't have to know your signal rules at all. Dharma is required only for those who want to be in vyavahara. If I have to drive a car, then I should know I should go on the left side. If there is a red signal, I have to stop. If it is amber, I have to do something. All those are relevant only for somebody who chooses to drive. In the same way, the entire Dharma Shastra is required for those who want to be in vyavahara. All of us want to be in vyavahara. So, this is only this set of people who can uphold it. They have to use it and they have to uphold it. So, what are all the things supposed to be done in Grihastha ashrama in our Vedic scheme of things? Rituals, variety of yajnas, which are all the Purva Bhaga of Veda. That's why last time it said, I said, Agnayascha Swadhyaya Pravachanecha, Agnihotrancha Swadhyaya. I talked about this in some detail last class. So, all the Vedic, whatever enjoy in the Vedic, you are supposed to uphold and keep that knowledge intact and pass it on. Because there is a Paraspara Bhava and all that will happen. Pancha Mahayajnas, you have to understand you live in a world that only a Grihastha can do. A sannyasi cannot cook for himself, nor a brahmachari can cook for himself. Leave alone giving for somebody else. A brahmachari and a sannyasa are supposed to get alms. Bhavati Bhikshandehi. That is a model. They can't do anything. It's only these people who can run this society. This society, this corporate called society can be run only with Grihastha ashram. So Pancha Mahayajnas. That's important. Religious way of life, huge emphasis on religious way of life in Grihastha ashram, as prescribed in the Dharma Shastras. That's another role. Sustain the society by charity, giving. Nobody can do, only a Grihastha ashram can do. Nor a sannyasi, neither a, because brahmachari has nothing. He lives on dole given by the teacher, and sannyasi is supposed to live on the dole if you and I choose to give. This is the model. So look at this role. This role is the kingpin of this society. Okay? And get progeny. Prajacha swadhyaya pravachanecha, prajanascha swadhyaya pravachanecha, prajatischa swadhyaya. It's very important. Carry on this baton. That also only a Grihastha ashrama can do. So in other words, therefore, this is the only sustainable infrastructure for practicing dharma, for practicing religious life, for practicing charity, for propagating any values worth the salt. It's only a married stage of life. So what does it mean? Marriage has wife, spouse, children, relatives, all that, social entities. They are not the destination. They are entities in this journey. The journey has a different purpose. The journey is hold on to this dharma and pass it on to the next generation. That is the central theme of Grihastha ashram. That's why when a person gets married, in fact, I see only variations. It does not change. When a person gets married, the daughter's father actually will see Mahavishnu in him and then offer puja to him in different way. Vara puja, different words they use. Why? Because they say, I am thankful to you. You chose to propagate dharma and hold on. If all of us decided not to become a Grihastha ashram, the world would have been shut down long back. So I am grateful to you that you chose. I am happy I will give my daughter also. And that is the spirit with which the spirit is, you have now come to sustain this world. I am happy. So I praise you. That is the spirit with which some of the rituals are done in a vivaha and all that. Anyway, so it's a great infrastructure for this. Now, if somebody really practices Grihastha ashram, the way it is enjoined in the Vedic kind of a thing, right? both of them together, a few things will happen. The first thing that will happen is, it will not be a surprise that as they understood this framework and traveled that path, they will get Chitta Shuddhi. Their mind will become pure. Because they have got the paradigm now. Their paradigm is very clear. Chitta Shuddhi is a sure event. It's a matter of degree, but they become a little purer in life. Because they have understood the larger picture of where am I coming from. Chitta Shuddhi is possible. These are all ideal cases. We may go 20% of it in this Janma, we may go a little later. All that, let it be there. They are talking about a framework now. Right? Sattva will dominate as a guna over time. A good Grahastha Ashra will bubble with Sattva. He and she together, they are seeing this larger picture of society in which they play a very important role. So Sattva domination will happen. If they are so good in it, they will reach what is called Sadhana Satushtaya Sampatti. What is that? They will get 4 important things. Great wealth they have. 1, Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka. They will know what is permanent, what is temporary. They don't get agitated with a lot of things in life. Because this framework will give them that freedom, that wisdom of life. So Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka. That's the first sadhana sampat that they will get. Second, Iha Amutra Artha Pala Bhoga Viragaha. Iha is here, Amutra is elsewhere. Here or elsewhere, we don't know where that elsewhere is, but there is some other world. We don't know where it is. There is some other world, and science is finding more and more worlds. They are going by inches actually. Okay, so there's so many light years also, there is something else there. That's what they are saying. Iha Amutra Artha Pala Bhoga Viragaha. This wealth, enjoyment and fruits of action, they will little step out of it. They will not attach too much to them. They will slightly become detached from this. If somebody achieves that, they have got the second sadhana sampat. The third is Shamadhi Shash Sampat. Shama, Dama, Uparamati, right? Shraddha, Titiksha, Samadhana. They will develop those attributes. The fourth thing that will happen is Mumukshutva. That's the fourth wealth. Adi Shankara says these are the 4 greatest wealths you can get. Otherwise you will be in this chakra again and again. So a true Grihastha Ashrama who understands the framework in which I am playing this ashrama, suppose somebody was like that, a pair of them were so involved and so genuinely understood this, by the age of 60 or 70, they would have been here. Now you can understand what will happen now. Now they will go to the logical next step. What is that? They will baton pass. They will take their hands off. That is called Vanaprastha. So if somebody can play this Grihastha Ashram role so well and develop this state of mind, we are almost ready for taking the hands off. And how will it happen? That is called the third ashrama called Vanaprastha Ashrama. And in simple terms, what is this Vanaprastha Ashrama? It is actually take your entitlements out of yourself, baton pass it to the next generation and move to the ringside. The biggest problem with elders today is many are not able to do. Particularly, I am not even telling in family circle. You go to any committee here, I am in all kinds of Government of India committees. 80-85 people are there. Language committee, this committee. They should say enough here. Let youngsters find out what language is required in this country. That is why people are finding it difficult to, they are so engaged in the Vyavahara. When are you going to step out? Don't you think there is a time for me to say, I want to take my hands off? Or you want to endlessly say, I want to get engaged into this whole thing? That will come with that Grihastha Ashrama framework of the Vedic thing is understood in spirit and practice, Pancha Mahayajnas, this and that people do. They will be in a state of mind where they will say, I want to actually take my hands off. That is when the Vanaprastha Ashrama comes. So in Vanaprastha, the simple thing is go to the, dissolve to the background. You should read the first canto of Raghuvamsha. So beautifully Kalidasa talks about Raghu kings. How they actually start, Yavane what they will do, Vardhake what they will do. Then he says, Lokatyante Tanuttijam. He says, nobody knows when they disappear from this world. Nobody knew how I came. We should go like that. We should not create any ripples. We should be able to slowly disappear and then one day just not there. Like that Kalidasa talks about Raghuvamsha kings in the first canto. That will happen if they go to Vanaprastha. And then sannyasi is, in chapter 5 of Bhagavad Gita we spoke in great detail. Sannyashrama is not something you can ask for. If all these happen, it should drop like a urva rukamayo bandhana. It's like a cucumber fruit which falls. A ripe fruit must fall here. Who are you to pluck? Sannyasa is a very ripened fruit. It should withdraw as a natural process from the world. You can't plan for a sannyasa. I mean, so many versions are happening. I am talking about the Vedic framework. So if we understand this framework and a certain paradigm in which now the Guru is actually telling a few things which you will see will fit into all these different parts of this framework. So he talks about a life trajectory. He wants to give a little bit of idea that just don't, I taught you something, but that's not what it is. The whole lot of journey that you have to make in your life. So for which you need different kinds of things you need to do. Those are all planted in this Anuvaka in many ways, which we will see in some detail next time when we meet. Okay, thank you.